Following is a production of
the garage area.
All right, welcome into the garage area. This is our Martinsville post-race show, and I'm here with you, Ryan, and we're going to talk about everything that took place over the weekend. Obviously, one really big story is the Xfinity Series. We're going to get to that. Um, One of the things that I thought was noteworthy was not only Denny Hamlin snapping a nearly year-long winless streak, but the tire compound. It seemed like there was a lot of rubber on the racetrack, a lot of rubber on the race cars. We'll get to all that as well. But as always, let's start with our picks. Why are we doing this again? Why are we making picks every week? I mean, it's everybody that I pick either has terrible luck or is just out to lunch that week. I don't know. Um, it's I picked William Byron this week. He was running in the top 10 most of the race, not as well as Bubba Wallace had been running, which you were going to win anyways. But then to top that off, not only did I get beat, but then Byron goes back to finish 22nd. And from what I understand, I didn't catch it all because I didn't really care where Byron finished because I don't root for the guy. But sounds like he got caught on some pit strategy, and when the caution came out, it just fouled up his whole pit strategy, and he ended up back in the pack. Um, I don't like this idea that we have to pick everybody on the list because I'm having to root for guys that I really don't want to root for, and that's something that I'm not a fan of. Now that I've got all that out of the way, tell me about your pick this week. Who'd you have? Where'd they finish?
Well, Bubba finished third, so he had a fast car. I don't know if it was. I think he was better than Bell, but of course it was hard to pass this week and stuff. And I think he had the second or third best car, so he finished where he should have and got a few stage points to help me out too. So I'm having fun.
I'm sure you are. Just absolutely smoking it in this picks thing. In fact, it's gotten so bad that my wife has actually asked me who I picked and then who you picked, and then wants to know why you're so much better at picking. And I'm just like, I don't know why he's so much better. He just ends up with better drivers. I don't know what to tell you. And we haven't even done the thing where the loser the previous week picks first. It's just been like, who do you want? Okay, this is who I want. And we never have had a conflict so far. I don't know what we're gonna do when we have, but we'll figure that out when we come to it. You could probably have them. And because if I pick them, they're not going to be any good. Uh, but yeah, that was our picks for this week. Kind of going into Darlington next week. Obviously, we don't have to make a selection right now. I'm between several people. I think that Denny Hamlin could go back to back and win at Darlington. I think that Tyler Reddick could be good. I know that Brad won there last year. I don't see him being good. Busher, I doubt it. Maybe. But the RFK car that I do think could be fast is Ryan Preece. I think that he's run well, and I think that that's a good racetrack for him. Did I say Chase Briscoe yet?
I thought you did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he will be fast, but he just seems like every race this year, even though he is fast, he finds a way to foul it up at the end, and sticking his noses in places that it shouldn't be, whatever it is. Um, any of those guys sound like they'll be people you think will be fast at Darlington, or you got somebody else in mind?
Obviously, I believe all those guys can be fast. I also got Kyle Larson. Um, Chase Elliott, I think will be decent and kind of showed the how he was fast at Martinsville. Things may have gone different had he got back to the lead in that second stage and stuff. And uh, at the abrasive track like Bowman Gray, the short track type of track. I mean, I know this is a mile long, but I think the tire wear and tracks play to Chase's favor also. So I could see him being quick there. Other than that, I think we've hit most of the points there. Tyler Reddick, I think he's another one that he'll be fast.
Yeah. Um, so, obviously you're a Chase Elliott fan, and I think that we should probably spend a little bit more time talking about our favorite drivers just because we pay attention to them throughout the day. And you're a fan of Chase Elliott, the most popular driver. People want to know about his day. Um, he looked like he was somebody that could contend with Hamlin for the win of this Cup race at Martinsville. Did you feel like he was going to be a winning car or not?
I thought he had the best car there for the first half of the race. Um, he got by Bell there like 20 laps or whatever after, let's say, tires maybe wore out and the balance changed over time. But after that, he lost the lead on a pit strategy in the second stage, and he just once Hamlin took control, he never was able to regain the lead.
Yeah. Did you think that there like did you feel like do you think that what do you think he needed to do to be set up to have an opportunity to make a run at Denny? Like, did they need another caution, another set of pit stops, or do you think that Denny was just if he was up front, he was going to have it?
Um, I think once Denny was up front, he had it. I mean, obviously Denny had a fast car, not taking anything away from him, but he had that fast car plus out front, taking away the air, able to manage his car better in clean air. Um, there was a point where Denny followed Chase to the lead, and I'm trying to remember when it was, whether it was a pit strategy. Chase got caught up in the mid top 10 or something like that, in the first stage, and Chase drove to the front, and then looked like Denny was catching Chase while going through traffic and stuff. And once they got to the front, Chase pretty much stayed ahead of Denny until some other caution and some pit road changed hands and different pit strategies took him out of the lead again. And then once Denny got back to the front ahead of Chase, Chase never caught back up.
Yeah. No, I think that this was a situation where the fastest car did win the race with Denny Hamlin, and I agree. I think that Chase was somebody that had an opportunity to, make a run at him. I thought that I thought maybe Bell might have had equal stuff to Denny at one point, but he just never got near him enough to really challenge him. Um, Even when Bubba Wallace was out front leading, I didn't think that he had like you felt like it was going to fade at some point, in my opinion.
Yeah. It just seemed like any driver that caught up to Denny, once they caught up to Denny, they just fell away. Because Chase caught Denny at one point in that third stage before I think the final pit stop happened. And at that point, Chase's car just like started, and then Denny drove away. Then Bell caught Denny, and then Denny drove away. So I don't know if it's just something fighting that leader. The leader had such a bigger advantage with that clean air that once you try to pass leader, it uses your stuff up so much that you can't go or what. I don't know. But that seemed to
Yeah.
me is what happened.
Yeah, if we're talking about dirty air at Martinsville, we got a problem. And we've known we had a problem for a while now, but that's insane.
Yeah,
Plus, you know, they're downshifting every corner, and that that doesn't do you any good for um, momentum and being able to race with momentum rather than just, I lost all grip in this corner. I'm just going to drop a gear and go.
yeah.
As far as Joey Logano goes, he was running in the top 10 most of the day. It didn't feel like he was going to gain any ground from there. He seemed like he was a back half of the top 10 kind of car. Um, I don't remember what the highest I'd seen him running, maybe sixth. And they were talking on the broadcast about how this is the longest stretch that a defending champ has had without a top 10 finish, and he was going to get it today. And about that time, he goes off Briscoe's nose and gets turned around in the middle of the corner. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. As hard as it's been to pass today, no chance he gets back up to the top 10. But when he went to the back, he put fresh tires on, and yeah, I think he had 46 or something lap fresher tires than everybody else. And he drove back up into the top 10. Do you have the results in front of you? I don't know if he finished
Um,
ninth, eighth, somewhere in there.
eighth,
Eighth.
eighth. Yeah.
So pretty good recovery for him as well, I thought. So that covers our picks, that covers the winner, and it covers our favorite drivers. Um, let's talk about the rating of the race. I heard on the teardown this week that maybe some people were less impressed than I thought they were going to be. Um, the Gen 7 races at Martinsville and the Jeff Gluck Good Race poll, I think like 37% yes is the average. Um, where do you put this race? Where did you think it rated?
Um, I was I'm pretty much mid on it, so I'll just say five. Um, the definitely the fall race was the better race compared to this week. I think I had higher expectations based on last year's race in the fall. Um, the tires lasted longer than what they were hoping, especially after a caution. They cooled down and restarted well. You couldn't. The tires may have worn down while they were hot, but once they cooled down under a caution or something, they were good on restarts and early laps after that. And they made their last pit stops with I don't know, over 50 to go or something like that, and you know, rode out the rest of the race. And you'd like to see them drivers have to pits, change tires every 30 laps or something if a caution comes out or something. I mean, overall, you want the tires to last longer than that on the run, but you know, a place like Martinsville, you're not pitting unless you absolutely have to because you're going to go laps down. So, um, I just I just felt like there was so much aero dependency at the front of the field. Let's say it like you talk about Joey Logano in the back of the field with his fresher tires where everybody had dirty air. I think that helps. But once you get to the front and the cars get cleaner and cleaner air, the tires start meaning less and less and less, and it just uh that's just kind of my take on it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I hear you with that. And I do want to talk about the tires here in a second and um that whole topic because of everything that was said this weekend about that. Um, as far as my rating of the race, I was actually between a 7 and an 8,
Mm-hmm.
and I dropped it down to a 7 just because of the aerodynamic factor. Um, I don't know. I don't want to say I don't know what more you could want. It was a boring race. There wasn't a lot of action. Denny Hamlin dominated the race, but it was the Spring Martinsville race. It's not been exciting in a long, long time. And like I said, the downshifting in the corner, the dirty air issue, I, that's the things that are negatively impacting this race. Denny Hamlin had the best race car. He's one of the best race car drivers, maybe the best race car driver at Martinsville. The guy deserved to win the race. Yeah, he dominated it, and I don't know why you are going to be upset about that. I don't want to see a wreck fest. I don't want to see the Xfinity Series race. I want to see guys that know how to get around that racetrack and run well, and I thought that Denny did that. And for that reason, that's why I'm giving it a 7. It's only the reason of guys that were decent not being able to pass, like you just said, because of the fact that the dirty air plays a factor as you get further to the front. And yeah, I'm not a fan of aerodynamics making that big an impact at any racetrack, but a short track like Martinsville, you got to be kidding me. Um, that's the only reason that it's taken a hit. But for the most part, I thought that it was a very good race, all things considered.
And one of the things that came up in all of this is, and I got the running order up here. There was still they finished 22 cars on the lead lap, and then reality at most down to say 30. Let's go to 33rd place with Cole Custer. He was 6 laps down. I figure at Martinsville you have guys that are lapped more often than in the past, whereas the leaders can get up through lap traffic better. Um, I just these cars have become so even with each other that they've called it like they're on a rail behind each other, just following one by one by one, and it just the leader doesn't get into lap traffic as soon as they used to. The leader doesn't fight as hard as he has to through lap traffic. I mean, he might fight harder, but it takes him longer to get there. All that time he's saving his tires and stuff while the other guys are on the chase down. You know, you get a little bit of a catch up when the leader hits traffic, but all of that in traffic is causing dirty air. Nobody can pass again. I just feel like, yeah, that was just kind of like, someone said it used to reach lap traffic by lap 20, and now it's taking 30, 40 laps to reach lap traffic. And the leader's not wearing out of stuff yet until he gets to that point, and that doesn't make good racing.
Right. No, I agree with all that. Um, this is the major thing that I wanted to say. I listened to the teardown with Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi. I got a lot of respect for Jeff Gluck, not as much for Jordan, because I think his takes are kind of dumb sometimes. But I think that Jeff is very good. I think that Jordan gathers information probably better than anybody else. But they were both idiots this week when they were talking about the tires, saying that we need to have an option tire for Martinsville now. Why? That's a band-aid on the bigger problem. I think that we had a good tire compound. We had the right tire compound. Could you make it a little better? Sure. But for everything that we've dealt with from Goodyear the last several years, having tires that are this good right now, I am not complaining. I think that that's one of the best compounds we've had at Martinsville in a long time. I think that last fall was a really good compound, and I think that the weather, I'm sure, makes some sort of difference there. A nighttime race, a race that at least finishes at night, uh, versus being in the daytime. But to have two different compounds of tires at Martinsville is dumb. Like you're putting a band-aid on the problem. And the problem is these cars can't pass for exactly what you just said. Dirty air is a problem. And again, you just can't get over that explanation for it being a Martinsville short track that you can't pass because of dirty air. Like, what are we talking about? You need to be able to have enough horsepower to spin the tires. There should be no downshifting in the corners, and just let them hit the guy to pass them. And if their stuff's worn out, that's great because you should be able to slide around the racetrack instead of just, oh, my tires got hot and I'm just going to sit back here and let them cool down a little bit. And while I'm doing that, I'll aero block the guy behind me and try to drive away again. It's just, I don't understand. I can't understand people's complaint about the tires. The tires are the only thing on this car that were going well this weekend, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely the horsepower is a big point. Horsepower would help buzz these tires down even quicker. Um, I mean, I don't know what it will do with the air, whether faster cars or whatever, whether it could overcome the aero dependency or not. But definitely, if a car burns up its tires more than what they are now, it might help.
Yeah. I need to get off this topic or I'm gonna get my blood pressure up. So we talked about Hamlin dominating. We talked about the cars, the tires, all that. Casey Mears came back this weekend. He had a good run. Where did he finish?
Um, Not dead last, 35th. Yeah, 10, 11 laps down. So
Oh yeah, solid run. Look, he's not in a good race car. I saw somebody post on Twitter that they wish that they were at that they more people were at the racetrack to see Mears locking up the left front in every corner
yeah,
and losing 2 seconds to the leader every lap. Um, I don't know. Casey Mears was never that great of a race car driver, but I don't think he was that bad. I think that the car had something to do with why he was running as bad as he was.
yeah. I also did that. Burt Myers, who ran the Clash,
Yeah.
he was in this race also and finished 12 laps down. So he was about seeing him being getting lapped every once in a while. So that was his TV time there too. So,
Hmm.
but of course he's in the 50 car for Team Amerivet, who I really don't think I've heard of before. So um, I just yeah, that was just some cars out there running laps, I guess.
Yeah. Um, I saw that Ty Gibbs was actually running better than I thought he was going to be, and ended up he was running in the top 10, and this was a track that people were saying if Ty Gibbs is going to turn it around, he's going to do it at Martinsville. And he did for a good period of the day. I don't know if he was running in the top 10, but he was running near the top 10. And then he got spun out with 103 laps to go. And was that Reddick that knocked him around?
Yeah,
And he ended up going to the back. And he was another one that I thought, well, that shoots his day down. He's going to be done for. He's going to get a bad finish out of a day where he was really running better than he finished. And he ended up coming back to finish, what was it, 12th,
13th,
13th?
one position better than Tyler Reddick.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, I was glad to see that guys like that, like him and Logano, both had that ability. Him and Logano got into it a little bit during the race as well. I didn't really realize that at the time because it wasn't being covered on the broadcast, but I saw some in-car on Twitter that was showing them kind of beating and banging off each other. In fact, it looked like Gibbs tried to. Joey was squeezing Ty down in the corners, and Ty ended up kind of making a wider exit. And I don't know that he drove Joey into the wall like by making contact, but he left him not enough room that the 22 did hit the wall and then bounced off the 54. And they had some contact after the caution came out shortly after that too. So uh, those two guys mixed it up a little bit at Martinsville, which I love to see because I like it when Joey's roughing people up, and I love it when Ty is getting roughed up.
I remember seeing Joey in a wall in that incident, but I didn't realize how much of a conflict between the two there was.
Yeah, Now, Logano had some words for Chastain after the race. I'm not going to repeat exactly what he said, but he said that basically that he raced like an idiot, and 2 out of 3 weeks he's put him in a bad spot. I don't know what happened 2 weeks ago. I'm not 100% sure what the deal was there, but it does seem like Ross Chastain, um, as I talked about before, drives with a tiny hole, head up the tiny hole every now and then, like he did at Coda in turn one. I don't know why he chooses to do that. Ross is a better race car driver than that, but that seems to be how he wants to race for some reason. Um, I don't know. I don't get it. I think that yeah, the one team's struggling a little bit at the moment, but they had a good run going, and for him to race just like a hiney hole is not necessary, and I don't know why he does it that way. The only other thing that I had from the Cup Series was Austin Cindric spinning Riley Herbst. When I saw that instance live the first time, I said, "Oh, Cindric just wrecked him on purpose." And then when I saw the replay, I was like, I can't say that definitively. I don't know for sure that he wrecked him on purpose. It looked like there were three wide, and the cars got bounced around a little bit, and it looked like he hit Herbst and spun him around. But I couldn't tell for sure that it was on purpose. My gut reaction was that it was on purpose, and then after seeing the replay, I wasn't sure. But Denny Hamlin said on his podcast that he was convinced it was on purpose. Did you see it, and what thoughts did you have?
Um, Real time, I thought it was just a racing incident. They were three wide and they got together. Seeing replays and everyone else complaining that it was intentional, it kind of like when you look back at it, and it was especially the in-car camera view I saw of it, it almost looked like either he didn't turn in where he should have or he turned up the track into Herbst. Um, I don't see a steering wheel from the in-car. I can only just kind of tell by gauging the distance of where his position is on the track, and it just felt like he didn't follow the arc of the turn that he should have. Um, so, um, and obviously the only incident I remembered for this year when it was the Ty Dillon incident at Coda. Um, Evidently there was something last year with Austin Dillon, maybe
Yeah, at Gateway, I think.
at Gateway, which Cindric won that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't remember that one, or and to remember what happened. I should have went back and looked for it to see, but there may be more of a track record with him in this than I maybe even know. So it is something to keep an eye on for sure.
Well, that's the thing. I think that if it wasn't for the situation at Coda where he should have got suspended, I'll stand by that, and didn't. And now this instance here, where it seems like he possibly did intentionally wreck him, even though it wasn't a right hook. Do you think that there should be a more severe penalty for Austin Cindric? Do you think that if let's say a driver did get suspended for a right hook and now they're intentionally wrecking people even though it's not a right hook, do you think there should be more of a penalty, another penalty of some sort for them?
Oh, I think definitely. If
But you're having to judge intent at that point, though,
yeah,
aren't you?
um, I think well, I mean they're gonna judge intent and everything, but didn't the same something similar happen with Hocevar? Didn't he finally get suspended for his incidences of turning people? So he'd always either spin out to try and bring out a caution when something happened to him, like a flat tire or something, or every time
In
he
the
got
truck series, you're talking.
yeah in the truck
Yeah.
series.
Okay.
He's also brought that into the Cup Series last year for sure. I haven't seen as much of the intentionalized wrecking this year in the Cup Series. He's still definitely aggressive, but that's difference.
Right.
Uh, but I thought for sure he kept getting like his penalties for once they started really penalizing him, they kind of kept getting a little worse and worse all the time. So for Cindric, if he's going to keep on doing this, I think NASCAR's going to have to step in and keep making things worse for him.
Yeah. Do you think that there's somebody that should just, you know, grab him by the arm and be like, listen, Austin, we got to have a conversation, like a driver in the garage area? Or do you think that that even exists anymore?
I would think his teammates would definitely have to say something or keep him under wraps because anymore these guys are working for for Penske, Joey and Blaney and stuff. Wherever they work with each other, they're working for Penske or yeah for Penske, and um, even the car owner himself. I would think I think Penske's one of those guys who wants to put on a good brand, and um, I know within the team they should definitely be talking to him. I don't know if it's I would assume if he's got a friend or close relationship with somebody on the outside of the team, I would think they should have a conversation, but I don't know what goes on with outside of the team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, that's where, as much as I couldn't stand him when he was driving, you needed Tony Stewart in the sport.
Yeah.
Somebody like that to just be like, "Hey, idiot, listen," uh, something along that line. And I think that we're missing that in the sport at the moment. I think that Denny's doing a decent job at it, but I think that Denny has had enough incidents over his career that people don't have the respect for him that he probably deserves being the driver that he is. I know that I've gained respect for him because I feel like he's matured a lot, and even just the last 5 years, I'd say, of a 20 plus year career that he's had, or close to 20-year career, whatever it's been. Um, I just think that like your long tenured guys, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, you gonna listen to any of those guys? Probably not. I mean, it just the experience. And I guess we're all old enough to remember now when those guys that have the tenure in the Cup Series were the dumb kids and did dumb kid things.
Yeah.
And it just seems like that's a hard thing to get away from. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents there. Anything else you wanted to cover from the Cup Series?
Um, there was some news today about Legacy Motorsports suing Rick Ware Racing. I don't know if you heard that yet or not. But
I have not. Enlighten
yeah.
me.
Evidently there was a charter agreement sale that
Okay.
Legacy was going to buy a charter from Rick Ware. Evidently things were signed and initialed, and Rick Ware went back on it. And I don't know. Supposedly all this happened within a month ago or something. And since Rick Ware went back on it, Legacy is suing Rick Ware. That's all the more details I know about it. But I just thought that was an interesting tidbit that came out today. So
Hmm.
um, I guess the only thing is Rick Ware claims that they signed it thinking this was going to take place in 2027, and the papers ended up having 2026 on it. So um, that's I don't know who's the miscommunication was at, but evidently that's what's going on.
Hmm. That's kind of weird. Um, yeah, that seems like there's something shady going on there. But either way, you're talking about some serious backmarker teams, so I'm not that worried about that.
Well,
Uh,
considering Rick Ware or Cody Ware is uh, tied in points with Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy's only run the Daytona 500, so I I, I I think they got to maybe go elsewhere. So.
yeah. Well, we're running a little bit long here, so let's just quickly hit the Truck Series race. Um, Not that bad. It seemed like it was going to be uh, a Corey Heim, Caden Honeycutt, a Ty Majeski type race, and it ended up being Daniel Hemrick instead getting his second career NASCAR win,
Yeah.
and in a good truck. And I guess I'm not shocked by the fact that he won that race, but good for him. He did the old Carl Edwards celebration there and backflipped off the truck. Um, Good to see one of those for the first time in a little while. I don't know. Do you have anything special to note about the truck series?
Um, yeah, other than Corey Heim dominated the race and probably should have had another win, is that's probably about the only other thing that was to that truck race. It was just kind of a racing incident, I think, that cut his tire down.
Yeah,
With Caden Honeycutt there, he had a kind of a flared out uh, skirt,
Fender.
whatever, that cut his tire. But
Yeah,
just Corey Heim could possibly have 4 wins by now, which is kind of insane to think about. But they've run
he
what,
just
5
had some bad
races,
luck
so
along the way.
but yeah,
Yeah, I think that he's definitely the class of the truck series field right now.
yeah.
All right, let's get into the big topic of the weekend, the Xfinity Series race. Um, Taylor Gray running for JGR, having an opportunity to win his first Xfinity Series race. Ran up front most of the day and was in position to win. He was behind Sammy Smith on a restart, gave him a little bumper, sent him up the racetrack, passed him. The next restart, Sammy Smith did the same thing to him, gave him a little bumper, sent him up the racetrack, passed him, or vice versa, however that
Yeah,
worked.
vice versa. Yeah,
Okay. So Sammy gave the bumper first.
yeah,
Okay. And then Taylor gave the bumper, and then he was in the lead. And then the final restart is when all the mayhem took place.
yeah.
You're a big JRM fan. Um, how much do you appreciate what Sammy Smith did?
Oh, I saw him getting closer and closer to the back bumper of Taylor Gray, and I was just like, no, not this, because I saw it coming, I was almost, it reminded me levels of Ty Gibbs, although it was a teammate, Ty Gibbs taking out
Brandon
oh,
Jones.
Brandon Jones that time, or whatever, and it was just, I obviously at that point they were teammates, and obviously Sammy Smith and Gray aren't teammates, but it just winning a race when you got to drive in 4 or 5 car lengths deep to get to the back bumper is just ridiculous. If you're on the bumper and nudge them into the second lane, I think is a bump and run. That's just a plain dump and crash everybody else. It was just absolutely uncalled for.
So do you remember when Carl Edwards did this to Brad Keselowski at Gateway in the Xfinity Series race?
Um, didn't he just like turn them straight on the straightaway for the win? It wasn't like
Yeah,
yeah,
they came
yep,
off four and he right hooked them.
yeah,
Um, he got a ton of grief for that, and rightly so. And I was rooting for Carl at the time. Him and Brad had a big rivalry going on. I didn't want to see Brad win, and Brad ran him real wide in 1 and 2, and Carl just hooked him off four. And Carl decided he was going to win the race, and he did. And but that's the thing, he won the race,
yeah,
and I still don't think that that's a good ethical racing move, but he got his victory. Um, Sammy Smith did not win the race with this move. In fact, he tore up a ton of cars. And
yeah,
it was the same thing that happened to Carl was he tore up a ton of cars when he turned Brad as well. It just they piled up on the front stretch. Guys took some hard hits. Um, was this move that Sammy Smith made more or less egregious than the Joey Logano versus Martin Truex Jr. in Martinsville in 2018?
this was more egregious to me.
So
I mean, I thought Joey kept it close enough to uh, uh,
Martin,
Martin. Yeah, you said his name, and I completely forgot her in 2 seconds. But I just he Joey stayed on the bottom, if I remember correctly, and moved Martin up into a second lane. He didn't shove both of them guys up 2 lanes on the racetrack and then start spinning into everybody else. They
yeah.
both kept their cars straight and going forward.
And Joey just got raked over the coals for that move.
Yeah,
And I agree that it was probably plenty aggressive, but he's trying to win the race to get into the championship four.
yeah,
And it was his only option to advance at that point, too. This is just a regular spring Martinsville race, and he was 4 car lengths back and packed the radiator into the back bumper of that car.
yeah. I mean, you look at the amount of damage he did to his own car just from the impact of the rear bumper. Knew it was too egregious.
Yeah, I agree. Now, do you think that on top of all of this, too, you can't really see it in the camera frame? Did Austin Cinder or Austin Dillon, the
Hill.
other Austin Hill come piling in there also?
Yeah, he pushed Allgaier into Sammy Smith.
That's what I
Allgaier
thought
was
because you
going to
can.
pass them both, and then Austin Hill was packed Allgaier into them.
So it seems to me like we need to um, just be hammering on both Sammy Smith and Austin Hill.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that was
Austin Hill to me is one of the most hated people in the Xfinity series for me personally. It's Ty Gibbs is all time, and then it's Austin Hill right below him.
yeah,
I cannot stand him in the way that he races. And it looked like from what I saw, he was bulldozing over multiple people throughout the whole race, let alone that final corner.
yeah. He ended up. I don't remember. He ended up hitting somebody, and it took out Jesse Love, his own teammate, in a
Yeah,
wreck earlier. So, that's. But he got his 100 grand. So,
yeah. I just think that in Sammy Smith's case, it's like, no, I knew he would do that to me. Whatever.
yeah, that was
Maybe that's true, maybe that's not true, but no matter what, that's unacceptable. Like you shouldn't be allowed to do that.
yeah,
Um, and the whole idea of, well, I couldn't take second place for my team. Dude, you got beat on the restart. That's what racing is. You don't get to just destroy everybody else's race car because you got beat. Like going down the backstretch, you're done. You finished second.
Yeah.
And you not only did you not finish second, not only did you not win the race, you tore up your car and a ton of others. And I don't even know where you ended up finishing, but not even close.
Yeah, that was let's see, Taylor Gray ended up 29th. Sammy, or did Sammy? I guess he finished 10th. And so not only did he not win the race, it came out today that he lost 50 points, but I believe
Yeah.
he was in the championship. Uh, I think he was in the playoffs. So not only did he not win the race, which did not put him in the playoffs, he lost 50 points on that playoff cut line. So
Wow.
it just he took himself out of the championship pretty much. Now I'd say he'd probably in a must win anyways. So
That's wild that you're talking about must wins only this far into the season. But it's going to be interesting to hear what Dale Jr. has to say about it because obviously that's one of his cars, and you know that he can't be appreciative of that kind of racing. I'll be interested to hear his take on that tomorrow.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but I'm glad to see we're on the same page on that one, even though you're a homer for JRM. Um, that's that's just a bad racing move in my opinion.
yeah,
Well, we are about to run out of time here, so I guess if there's nothing else that you want to cover, we'll go ahead and shut her down.
that's all I got.
That's all I got too. Thank you guys for watching, for listening, for supporting us. We appreciate it, and we hope to continue to make you some good content here and to yell about the different things that take place in the sport and hope that NASCAR changes it. Um, I saw a lot of April Fool's jokes today about the big one as a Pittsburgh Pirates fan was that the owner was selling the team. And I kind of wish the France family would sell NASCAR so that we could get back to some real race cars and actual real racing. And that's not an April Fool's joke, but I look forward to Darlington and a real driver's racetrack, and we'll see what things look like after Darlington. And we'll be right back here to recap it for you in the garage area.